We are Denver. This is Kwaxiru with Eutimia Cruz Montoya.
Hi, everybody. Eutimia here with Kwaxiru. That is this podcast / new project talking all things love. So I'm just going to start out. I have a lovely guest here who I will introduce shortly. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Eutimia Cruz Montoya. I'm from Denver East Side. Born and raised, I am a Chicana, a daughter of the Civil Rights Movement, and I am a licensed acupuncturist, and I practice curanderismo and body talk and Chinese medicine out of my grandmother's home in the East Side, not the Rhino District, the East Side. And she knows why that's funny. Maybe some of you do too, or not funny, as the case may be. But so I do a lot of opening of people's hearts, unraveling. I do a lot of loving. A lot of times when people come into my clinic, the first thing they need is just a softness, a tenderness. And that's what this show is going to be all about, pretty much, is returning to that softness, returning to that tenderness. And sometimes love isn't soft, it isn't tender. Sometimes love is harsh and truthful and angry. So you need to know when you can give that to the people that you're talking to too. Like if you love someone, for instance, but you know you don't really want to be with them, loving them more would be telling them the truth, even though that's going to hurt them. But in the long run, it's going to be a lot better. So anyways, that's just a little background on me. I am, as I just realized from reading a book on Greek mythology, or a part of a book on Greek mythology, that I am very close to the Aphrodite archetype, which means that I just like to love. I love to love. I fall in love. I get all Twitter-pated. I fall back in love with people that I haven't been in love with in a long time, and then I cry, and I move on. And then I integrate it. Ooh, that's fancy. I integrate it with my medicine work so that I can, cry. So, and then move on and transform it and heal. So this is all about talking about love, so we can really heal the stories, heal the wounds, heal the bullshit that keeps us away from love, and keeps us stuck in old patterns that aren't serving us anymore. So yeah. Now I'm going to introduce Charmaine. So I just came from Charmaine's house, actually, because she was giving me a treatment. Charmaine is my dear sister friend. We go way back. Our moms go way back. We went to high school together. She is also a practitioner of the healing arts. She's one of the most beautiful people I know, and I love her very much. So it is my great pleasure to have her here. Charmaine, would you like to share anything at this point?
Thank you. I love you too. Yay! Very, very much. Which is why I'm here.
That's my dog. She's the love of my life. That's why she's here.
Yes, so I'm all about love. Anybody who knows me knows that I've been obsessed with this concept and this idea, and deconstructing it and reconstructing it and deconstructing and reconstructing for a very, very long time, maybe my whole life. So just coming here to offer my input and insight and opinion and experience of how that's transformed and how that continues to transform throughout my life and in my experience clinically with clients as well.
Okay. So, well, thank you for being here. If you could give love a color right now, what color would it be?
White.
White? Tell me why. Why white, Charmaine?
Because it's pure. It's just like pure. So I know that everyone's going to go into this idea of like, oh, white, and white must be right. I'm like, do you know the race thing? Which is not what I'm going for at all. So sorry if anyone's offended by that, because that's not it at all. But just the purity of the divinity of love. And that concept of being poured over by a white light or a golden light, and just being filled up with that is really what I think of. And just that first moment of maybe a child being born and brought into the world, and like the light coming in. So that's really what I think of. It's not this other thing.
That's so beautiful. In Spanish, they call giving birth dar la luz, to like give light. So that makes a lot of sense.
So.
Well, thank you for that. So one of the reasons, well, there's a few reasons why I asked Charmaine to be here with me today. One is because we know each other really well, and we've definitely discussed matters of our hearts together. Another one is to kind of keep it light, because this can get really deep and dark. We'll definitely have people on the show who are talking about more of the shadow aspects of love, abuse, substance, etc. But to keep it light.
And I would argue that that's not love, but...
Well, right, exactly. But this is what we're doing. We're unfolding all of these things. We're unearthing, we are unraveling the layers of belief systems. That's pretty much why I decided I want to be like, let's talk about love. Or what isn't love? Girlfriend, no, stop. Okay, we'll get into that later. But one of the big reasons I wanted Charmaine to be here is because of my personal high school drama story with this woman who was then a bright-eyed teenager, as was I. Charmaine, will you start? I want to hear what your starting is. We talked a little about this before.
So
teenage drama.
Yeah, I guess my experience was very different. Because we have different stories, we come from different perspectives of what it means to love and what love looks like. I came from seeing some individuals within my life that were very jealous and overbearing. And so and it kind of felt like made them crazy. And so
crazy for love, not La Kwaxiru kind of crazy though, guys. This is not okay.
And
crazy.
So I think that I committed at a super, super young age that like I would never let love look like that in my life, where it would never be this kind of love that seemed unhealthy in my mind and seemed crazy and seemed intense and kind of like bad.
Right.
You know, and so I think from a really, really early age, I cultivated this sense of self within myself that I would never I never wanted to experience that side of love or like cultivate that side. So I didn't have a lot of stories about jealousy or insecurity or whatever. I kind of I think that I thought that like I was the center of my universe or something. Not like that, but
that's a good thing. We should think we're the center of our universe because we kind of are.
And I come from
create our realities.
I come from a very strong woman. And I also come from a dad who taught me very, very young to be very strong and to be very independent and to like always be able to, walk away and not be weak. And so I think that in some capacities that molded how I would show up. And I saw the ways of showing up as jealous or insecure as a weakness. So I just dedicated to be like, yep. Not going to do that. Not going to look in the phones. Not going to go through all of those things that I feel like people tend to go through in those layers, or not look for something that I'm not sure I want to find. You know,
you're like, I'm just tuning out from potential drama, like preemptive, no drama.
Yeah,
right. Okay, thank you. So I came from like a very different place. I was not raised with a father. He passed away when I was very young. And so I remember noticing when I was about 3 or 4 that I didn't have a dad. And seeing specifically, I remember watching a girl that I knew in like preschool or something climb on her dad's lap. And it was like, where's mine? And so I feel like because of that, and my mom did the best she could as a single mother, and I have a very loving, supportive family, mostly women, mostly matriarchal. But I had this like daddy thing, missing the male archetype, that male unconditional love. And so from a very young age, I was seeking that out. And when I hit puberty, and I became sexualized rather, or both, that was my affiliation with men, that to get love from a man, you have to have sex with him, or you have to interact with him in a sexual way, even though I didn't even know what that meant yet. So anyways, Charmaine and I, we had high school boyfriends who were best friends.
Yes.
And You can totally jump in if I got it twisted, but because of what I hear Charmaine saying, that she was kind of like no drama, whatever, she didn't really, like, in my understanding, didn't really like address her drama directly with her boyfriend, right? So she addressed it with my boyfriend. And clearly she's a beautiful woman. And I was like, who this bitch? I'm in here with my boyfriend hanging out. And I got really, really jealous. And that was made more over by also, I think, I received the messages very young that if you're an attractive woman, you can't be friends with other attractive women because, like, they're your competition. And that comes from patriarchy and all of these ways that they've taught us to pin women against each other. So I feel like from that, we've definitely moved into a different place. I know I have on the inside, where I am a huge fan of sister wives, as in I love and I do my best to make connections and make friends with the lovers of my lovers, because like chooses like, and that feeling, like you said, you felt like jealousy was a weakness. I wouldn't necessarily call it a weakness, even though I do believe that is true, but I don't like to necessarily call things good or bad.
Well,
but
again,
it's a belief system that is disempowering.
I was
right.
14 or something.
Right. And I was like, why is she talking to my boyfriend?
Well, and I think I've had a lot of friends that are men. I've had predominantly, most of my major friendships, or a lot of my major friendships, have been with men. And I grew up with my brother and all of his friends, so I just thought it was kind of normal. And I don't think I think I actually sometimes still have a hard time with this concept.
No, not at all. They all want to be your friend, Charmaine. They all want to be your friend.
That men and women can't be friends. So really, I truly was like just friend. There was no bone in my body that like desired your boyfriend
high school
at the
boyfriend.
time.
I know. Like I look back, I'm like,
don't say that.
Stop. Yeah.
But yeah, there was nothing about it. It was simply just like connecting with another individual in a way that made sense and could provide clarity for myself within that dynamic. And so I think that's all that I thought it was. There was not like this, oh, I'm really going to piss off his girlfriend, or, oh, I don't like her, or or like anything like that. And so I think sometimes, like you like to say, I'm oblivious to what's happening in reality, because I'm like, everybody just loves each other, don't they?
I'm like, Charmaine.
And then people hate me or something like that. And
you know, that's their own problem, I guess. There was a segue. I was going to segue into that, okay, sorry, this is our first podcast, Kwaxiru. I want to shout out WeAreDenver, #WeAreDenver, for giving us the space and the place and the impetus to do this work, to share it with you guys. And also shout out Meet in the Street, which is happening every Saturday this summer on the 16th Street Mall in Champa. So that's a really good thing. Because what we're doing is we're building community. And I cannot separate the concept of love from the concept of community, because what I see happening ever since colonization, and this is like a whole different podcast, let's talk post-colonial love syndrome. But basically, they took away our sacred places to dance, our sacred places to commune and eat. We went into this like individual home, mother, father, kid, and if you don't have that, then there's a whole prison industrial complex, and then they send a lot of our fathers away to prison for, doing things like stealing bread to feed their family because they're poor. Okay, sorry, different podcast. When it comes to love, we have been erroneously given the idea that love can only truly exist, or intimacy can only truly exist between two sexual partners. So I often see, and just how you were saying with my high school boyfriend, you just wanted somebody to connect to who was close, but it wasn't like that. But the way we've all been conditioned by Disney and everything is like, if you have closeness, it has to be like that. So I've experienced like that too. You just like see somebody, a girl, a boy, somebody transgender, and you're just like drawn to them, right? You're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, I have a boyfriend, I can't talk to them. But you don't really know, do you like want them like that? Or why are you drawn? So I'd like to introduce the idea to you of something that I've been familiar with for a while, but a good friend of mine, Feather, gave me the words for, called karmic affinity. So karma, in the Hindi language, I believe, if anybody knows different, write me. I'm open to learning. It means action. But the idea is that there's an action to every action. There's a reaction. So people are like, that's bad karma. Like if you do something bad will happen to you. But there's also this notion of many lifetimes. So if you have a karmic affinity meaning like being drawn toward or a pull towards something, it's like an intergenerational, dimensional karmic pull. So basically, like, I mean, and you have to buy into the idea of past lives, which I totally do. And I know Charmaine does too. So sometimes people meet each other in other realms, in other dimensions, in other lives. And then when you meet that person in this life, you're just like drawn to them and you're not really sure why. That doesn't necessarily mean they're your next bed partner. That just means that there's something in them that pulls you that you might not be able to explain. Maybe that is a creative potential. Maybe they're supposed to be your best friend's dude, you know, like all these other potentials. What do you have to say about karmic affinity, Charmaine?
Well, I guess I would have put the two words together and come up with that, but I'm not very familiar with the concept and the ideology behind that, but I understand what you're saying. And I would say, yeah, we're really confused and trapped in our ability and our understanding and our stories around love. So we almost equate like any intense emotional response to somebody as love. Right. And and that can be like the abusive cycle, as you were talking about earlier, where we're so confused and so disconnected from what love actually is that we're kind of just accepting substitutes. We're like filling in. We're like, let me just put something in this space because we don't understand it. And then for myself, I know that there's been a long journey of being like, experiencing love like all the time, like every day. Like I fall in love with people all the time. Twitter. Yeah. People are sometimes people say they can't keep up with how much I fall in love. But the thing about that that's really interesting is they're not lovers.
What do you mean by that? Define lover.
Somebody that I'm like intimately or sexually intertwined with, right? So, and I also think that people who I am loving towards, because I'm just loving, like I just come and I'm like, let me just pour love all over you. People get really confused and they want to like attach to me and like, and like hold me in this way of like, I'm like, wait.
Mine.
Yeah. And you know how I feel about that. So, I think people are really confused and disconnected from their love space. And, we have so many stories built around it. And you actually did a talk last week on, when you were introducing this concept that you were going to launch this podcast. And I thought it was, interesting because you articulated, what I feel, but hadn't articulated in the way that you did, of like inviting people into the love space, but knowing that they have to leave and they have to go about their journey, and that when they leave your love space, you shouldn't feel empty.
Your love space is totally intact.
Yeah, it's fine. And so I felt that way, hadn't articulated it in that way, but it was like perfect. I was like, oh yes, it's like a room in your house or whatever it is, right? And so I think that...
Can you sum up that concept for our audience right now?
So you kind of had this conversation about bringing people in to a place that was already cultivated within yourself of being a love space. I guess I kind of intellectualized it as self-love, like being full of love for myself enough that, or what I would say is being full enough with love from source or creator or whatever it is that you connect to, your sense of connection to something greater than yourself. Being so full of that anything else that comes in, it's kind of like overflow. It's kind of like I'm full and now I'm flowing, like overflowing with love. And really working on cultivating, healing and closing all of the holes and stories and traumas and belief systems you have around that that prevent you from being full in that way, so that when someone comes into that space or fills you a little with that space, their absence doesn't leave the illusion of a whole, or the belief of a whole.
The illusion and the belief.
Because really, we're whole, right? We're whole, and we're full of love, and all that permeates out of us is love, unless we have filled up that space with all kinds of belief systems,
or we've been given those belief systems.
Yeah,
right.
And we haven't unraveled them. So really, it was like being in a room that, like, I love this room. I decorated this room. This is my shit.
You can say that.
This is my shit, and I want to be here all the time. And then somebody comes in. And it's like, cool, hang out on my couch. Like, let's chill together. And then they leave and you're like, shit, now my couch isn't the same couch anymore because somebody sat on it, right? That's not a reality. Right. The couch is still the same couch. It's still, the environment is still the same environment. So allowing people to come in, but...
I really like that analogy, like making your house.
But also demanding that the people that you let into your love space come to share it, but not take from it or... like have a party and spill beer on everything and sorry that I have a funny
respect your love space.
Yeah, so
that's
what I think.
Cool, thank you. So that's a good segue to talk about attachment and love versus attachment. So you hear a lot of new age people throw around these words about love versus attachment and expectations, and I just kind of want to demystify that. So to me, attachment and expectation are very closely linked, and you're generally attached to expectations. So an example is your boyfriend says, you don't do that because you're my girlfriend. And it's like, what is that? He has an expectation that a girlfriend acts specifically like this, which really has nothing to do with his girlfriend at all. That has to do with his own stuff, right? It has to do with his own baggage. Oh my God, we could go on and on and on. But you become attached to ideas. You can become attached to people. But you're really attached to what you want, your desire of them, your desire about them, your desire around them, right? So I see people all the time getting really upset at the people they love because they did something that was out of alignment with this person's expectation of what they wanted. So example could be... I was in a relationship with a guy once. It was a short relationship. And he was just jealous all the time about everything. And I had never really dealt with that. And I mean, you guys see me. Most of you who are watching probably know me personally or follow me. And I'm like a big ball of fire who wants to like share love and warmth with everyone. My mom actually told me the other day, she's like, Mija, I couldn't deal with you when you were a kid because you were just loving everybody. You were so nice to everybody. You always, Mom, can I go with them? And like, no, you can't go with them. So she would always have to like rein me in because I just was like, hi, you're my friend. So I did that again with a particular individual who was not good for me. And he had this like attachment to how I showed up around other men, which basically meant that like I couldn't really even talk to them. Like you faced them a certain way and that's what your body language said. I'm like, well, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know my body language. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm with you. I'm choosing you. Like, why are you mad? Because he had this idea that if you have a girlfriend, she acts like this. So he wasn't loving me. He was trying to own me. He was trying to control me. He was trying to trap me. Like, he really was trying to trap me. And I prayed really, 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 really hard one night. And the next day we got into a big blowout. And I was like, get out, get out, get out, get out. And but it took a lot to get out of that, because there's manipulation that comes with this attachment. And I don't even know how to put those together. Charmaine, how about you help a sister out?
Well, I feel like that programming starts really, really early. So, it starts when kids are really, really small. And I see this clinically with clients, it's like behave, right? It starts as like kind of behave, and children tend to want their parents to like choose them, love them, whatever. So that conditional and that attachment to how like our structures and our belief systems around love should look starts really young. So we're like, oh, we can only be loved if we behave in XYZ way. Right. And so that is that component. The other component, I mean, we're trained to hold on to and to attach. Like, this is mine, right? I love my toy. It's mine. I have to have it. It has to belong to me for me to like really be able to appreciate it. If it's communal and we have to share it, not that I'm suggesting.
Not that she's into sharing, for the record. Sharing is caring.
No, I'm just sharing is caring.
Sister, wife, life.
Yeah.
Kind of.
No. But about attachment, I really much believe that love is not an attachment, that it's an appreciation. And the attachment is where we develop our pain stories around it, because we want to hold it, and we want to grasp it, and we want to contain it. And you can't contain love. You can only really be love, right? You can only share love. And it's all these stories and programs that we've got and Disney, or whether it's like your favorite romance flick, whatever it is, that's conditioned.
Disney, for the record, has ruined more women's lives, and men's too, than probably anything else, maybe besides
I still
Monsanto.
like Disney. So
yeah.
I don't know. I like the fairy tales. But I'm also not like looking at them in a sense of being like, own your woman, be attached, fall in love, and never experience greatness
when
ever
my prince
again.
comes, everything will be fine, and I will live happily ever after.
What if you are your prince?
Exactly. I'm my own prince.
Yeah. So, yeah, attachment is a silly thing. It's not a silly thing. We've kind of been conditioned into that, but it causes pain.
Yeah, and it causes pain to yourself is the thing. So, being a beacon of my preaching, I was in and out of a relationship with a specific man, for over 10 years. We were engaged at one point, and he went and got really successful as an entrepreneur and kind of couldn't deal. And granted, I was still working through a lot of my woundedness, and I was very attached, like extremely exorbitantly. Oh my God, how could you be that attached to this man? But it's been like 5 years since then. And I realized that my attachment wasn't even so much to him, even though he's a lovely human, but like to the idea of him. And when I say idea, like, he was raised a very different way from me, very different cultural background, socioeconomic class background, very different belief systems. They called him champ at home. I was raised in like a marginalized community. And even though I'm light skinned, like, I grew up with this narrative that our people just don't do those things, Mija. Our people just don't do those things. So like, I had to overcome this self-defeatist narrative. Anyways, I was like, when I met this person my freshman year in college, I was like, wow. And he was just totally like inspiring in so many ways. Anyways, back and forth, yes and no, yes and no. And I feel like we were both like really addicted to the idea of each other. But when we were actually in relationship, there were so many things that weren't working out. Like, I really enjoy doing things that like, this beret. Like, who would wear this? Like, not a lot of people, but I love the fuck out of it. I'm like, woo, I have a squirrel skull. It's actually prairie dog. Look up prairie dog totem. Right. So like, he didn't like how loud I am or how much I would adorn myself or really enjoy aesthetic things. And, just all kinds of other things. And I didn't like what a workaholic he was. And the only place literally we were compatible was in the bedroom. Because we met when we were 18 and we learned on each other. So of course you're going to like learn and like, then it's a habit and then your oxytocin goes crazy. Right. Anyways, after all this time, it's only been about a year or so since the last time we re-emerged with our flutters together. And I learned a couple of different things, and it was really, really empowering, actually. And basically, the biggest one is, like, he is never going to be what you think you wanted him to be. Like, that's just not him. That's just not him. And there was one specific point where we had just been intimate, and he, like, woke up and in his way, like, started business right away. And I had this old narrative, having my daddy abandonment issues, like, and all this whole love thing, like, he doesn't love me. Oh my God, why doesn't he love me? And then I stopped myself because I've been doing a lot of self-work. So for me to go back to that unempowered place, it just was not acceptable. And my higher self was like, girl, what are you doing? And I looked at him and I was like, just taken aback by our 14 years of history together. And I was like, can you love him where he's at? Like, this is who he's always been. He's always been a workaholic. He's never been super cariñoso, like kissy, touch, face, unless like there was a specific time for that. So why do I need that from him in order to love him? Like, I love this man. I've been loving him since I was 18. Do I need him to do something specific? And in the moment I decided, no, I'm just going to love him like he is where he's at, and I stopped telling myself my disempowering story, he literally like dove back into the bed and grabbed me and hugged me and was like, thank you, I love you. And I was like, whoa. But it's like super cool because now we're friends, and of course we're always going to have that attraction for each other because we like learned on each other, but we're really a lot more like family nowadays, and it's been the best gift of my life. And I thank you, whoever you are, you know who you are, for setting me free so that I can go through all of this and that I can still show up loving him where he's at, even though he like travels 8 months out of the year and we're not in a relationship and we don't have sex anymore. But I freaking love that man, and that's totally, I'm okay with that. Anyways, that's my story about attachment. Do you have one, Charmaine? You have a story about attachment? I love her awkward face when she's like, Demi, I don't even know what to say right now.
I mean, I have 1,000 stories about attachment, probably. I mean, really, what attachment it really comes down to is our ideas of what things should look like.
Our ideas of what things should look like.
So we're like, wait, if you loved me, it would be this way. If he loved me, he would know these things. If he loved me, he would love me the way I need to be loved, right?
Right.
But we also choose people who don't love us the way that we think we need to be loved, right? For whatever the season is. I have so many attachment stories.
And I urge all the audience members out there to be like thinking of what your attachment stories are. And maybe it's not love. Maybe you're just attached to an idea and it's hurting you. Anyways.
Let me think. I guess the most recent ones that have come up for me is the ways I've tried to just be loving to individuals in my life, whether it's men or women or whatever. And I tend to attract a little bit of like a possessive, jealous kind of type. Maybe going back to childhood, I don't know.
But it all starts in childhood.
It all starts in childhood.
We're uncovering that shit forever.
It goes way back.
Way deep.
But so I've been playing with this idea of loving non-attached. and just loving people where they're at in all their humanness and all the messiness, and just being like, I love you, but not like, and people don't know how to handle that. Because we're so conditioned to be like, I love you means I love you and I want to be in a partnership. I'm like, no.
I love you means like, let's have babies.
And I'm like, actually, I love you in all the ways except settling down, buying a house, putting a white picket fence around it.
Picket fence?
Yeah, no.
I don't like fences myself.
So I've come across a lot of interesting ways of having to like cut people out of my life that I want to just like be open with and love with, because of their stories of like needing to attach to me and needing to, and I haven't, so I haven't dated for, years, several years. And so,
several years? How many years, Charmaine?
So over 2. So it's been over 2 years since I've been open to the idea of dating. But I've been open to the idea of loving, which is different, right? Because of the constructs that we've built around it, like dating versus loving, or being a lover versus loving.
Right.
Go ahead.
And can we talk about like these dichotomous realities, this whole like black and white thing, and not just the colors, but like, there's not a gray area, which in love, there's entirely a gray area.
Love is gray.
It's like, it's really unfortunate because you see like we're all conditioned by Disney or by the media or whatever. Like dudes, you want to be a player. Like it's cool to be a player. And girls are like, I want to get married because that's like the only thing that really matters in my life because of Disney. And, and so it creates this, like, it sets this setup for failure, right? It's like, if somebody wants to date, they're like either all going in, oh, this is it, this is the one, or they're like, nah, she's a hoe, or he's just a fuck boy, right? Like there's no place where you can actually just show up and very authentically admire someone's qualities without jumping to one extreme or the other. And that creates so many problems because how many times do you like meet somebody and you're like, whoa, I'm pulled to you, but then they don't call you and you're like, F them. But then maybe they didn't call you because they're wounded, right?
Our wounds are
they don't want to be trapped because they've been set up this whole life that you're either in or you're out. Right? No pun intended.
So I think that I've been open to just loving people, and working through this idea or this concept. I tend to want to intellectualize something and then figure out how to actualize it. And so I'm like, I'm just going to love like all the people. And my realization through that process has been that like, people are so starved for like real love, like what love really looks like.
Get a puppy.
Get a puppy. They're the best.
She gave me love bites on my nose.
That they get really clingy really fast.
Right.
And I'm confused because I'm like, wait, my love, like I'll talk to you, I'll go out to eat with you, I'll do all the things besides like be an intimate lover with you, because that's like, for me, that's a level that's like reserved for another realm, for myself.
You don't share your gene with
I'm not a gene sharer. I'm just not. And so I'm like really always confused because I feel like I can be a great friend and a great lover, and I can show up in all of these ways that are really unconditional and let people go through all of their wounds and their stories. And like, I kind of like a love doctor. I feel like I've been a little bit of a love doctor.
Amorandera.
Over the last few years, where I attract people who have stories and beliefs about love, and I come in and like awaken this part of their heart that's like been dormant or wounded, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna love you, and it gets some way down the line of our friendship, our relationship, our loveship, I would say, and they just want to like close in on me, and I'm like, whoa, no, this wasn't part of the agreement. Right. I can love you, but if loving you means you attaching to me and you holding on to me and you trying to like trap me into a corner where I feel like I can't love people and breathe, and you're looking at that guy because I love him too, and you're looking at that guy, and all of a sudden there's like war going on, no, this wasn't the agreement. This isn't love. And this isn't how I will love. And this is not how I'll have love in my life. So if this is how you love, you will not be within my life and within my love realm, right?
Right. Well, because it's not love and it's like pulling you down vibrationally.
And so I've had to sever, unfortunately, some really interesting relationships. And you know me, I'm kind of a coddler for a while where I'm like, listen, can you just get with it?
And then, and then you're like, that's enough. Just stop.
I mean, I believe in the humanness of all of us. And I even tried to, you know, sprinkle some light on on people's their wounds and be like, look, I'm offering all of these things. What I'm not offering is what you believe that you need, because you've been conditioned to believe that you need this component of it. And sometimes they still just can't get it because the illusion
is so deep.
The illusion and the idea of loving me is more than actually loving me.
Right. And that's a really powerful thing to draw attention to. Like loving is a verb. Love is a verb. It means showing up loving. Right. So you're like, I love you so much. Like this happens a lot. I've seen with my friends, if they have like abusive patterns with boyfriends, but I just love you so much. I love you so much. So you love me and that's why you hit me? You love me and that's why you're cursing me out right now? No, I'm just doing it because I love you. No. Girlfriends, if you have a boyfriend who does that, or boyfriends, if you have a girlfriend who does that, or a husband or a wife or a partner or whatever, like that's not love. That is control, you know?
What I kind of will say about that though is that we sometimes attract people so that we work through our own wounds and
with our partners, with our lovers,
with our own partners and with our lovers. And for me, it was it's interesting that I joke that I like attract jealous people because I'm not really inherently a jealous person. So I'm like, what like relationships with my parents? What are you laughing at?
I can't say. I'll tell you later.
Are you thinking of who I'm thinking you're thinking of? I'm not jealous of that.
No, I don't know what you're thinking of, but I'm just saving face of potential involvees. Sorry guys, sorry, not to keep you out of the conversation. Me and Charmaine do that sometimes.
But I recently attracted an individual who's very like bright and charismatic and like the man version of me.
Ooh, I want to see.
And I was literally flabbergasted and kind of like had to take a step back and be like, what is this? And then I also had to laugh because I was like, well, this whole idea of non-attachment and non-jealousy and just loving people, are you going to actualize this? What lessons will you learn in this?
Right.
And I feel confident. Like I feel really good in my own heart space. I feel like I've taken a good amount of time to unravel whatever layers I have in that. And, you know, I've been in lots of relationships. I've had to deconstruct a very long relationship of most of my life, my high school boyfriend / later partner of 10 years, baby daddy, love life, deconstruct that and evolve and grow in the ways and really try to actualize my belief systems around like loving someone unconditionally and releasing attachment and my stories and my wounds and whatever I had tied up into that. And also like jealousy or like comparison. It's like comparison is the thief of joy. So
it really is though.
Yeah. So I've had to do all of that in the last several years. And so I feel like in a very like clean and balanced heart space. And I feel like whenever you feel that way and it's time to grow, then Creator puts something in your life that's like, are you ready to level up now? Are you ready to look at the layers of yourself that you haven't needed to look at? And the layers of yourself that you've been complacent in growing, right? Because I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of bored. Can I meet somebody that's gonna like challenge my soul to grow and evolve?
Blossoming soul.
And then I'm like, shit.
Then you find somebody and you're like, God damn it, I didn't know that shadow was there. Now I have to face it.
Yeah, so.
That's kind of where I've been recently. The person that I am currently sharing love space with is like a deep, deep philosopher, thinker person. And constantly I'm like, damn it, what are you doing? Stop. You know, I have to like check myself all the time. But it's really good because I'm growing a lot. So we are about 14 minutes out, and there's something that it's been coming up and I really want to address it. Is we're talking a lot about like choosing your love space and deciding like if you're going to love and what is love and what isn't love. But I just really want to acknowledge where a lot of our lack of love comes from. And these patterns and these conditionings are actually coming from generations and generations back. And it really is about learning how to love yourself. So in my own experience, God bless, rest in peace, my grandma Celia. My grandma was, I don't even know, can I say this on her? Mom, sorry. My grandmother was a woman she was from Denver, but her lineage is from New Mexico, and she's Native American and Spanish, and raised very Catholic, but her mothers all came from like witch ways from New Mexico, brujeria and this stuff. And and she was like hella India, like super, super, super India. And I actually, to this day, believe that she prayed me light-skinned so that I wouldn't have to suffer. There's a different kind of suffering that comes with that. But anyways, Grandma told my mom when she was a kid that it was a sin to love yourself. And that's what she was taught through Catholicism. And she was like hella dark-skinned native looking. And in the Americas, especially post-colonial, the worst thing you could be is an Indian. So people with indigenous ancestry from the parts of the world that my family comes from, like you did not want to be Indian. And everybody, like, whiteness is better, whiteness is best. So you hate yourself, you hate your skin, you hate all of those things. So like, and there's also a lot of rape history and pillage and in the intermixing of the bloods. Like, in order to dehumanize one person, you have to dehumanize yourself too. So not only are like mestizo people, and also people who are mixed with, past tense. Oh man, I hate being politically correct. People who are mixed with white and black from that post-slave era, same kind of thing. It's like, or from rape, you're carrying with you the feelings of the rapist and the rapee. Okay, you're carrying with you this deep, unsettled hate that's inside. And we don't realize how much of that we're still bringing into our own.
Hida is licking me.
Dude,
like
Hida
so
has
crazy.
been on a thing. No, she's like, you guys are talking about love. I love you. I love you. She's like licking us really intensely right now.
Like distractingly. Like I'm like trying to ignore it, kind of moving her
She
away.
knows what's up. You know what's up, huh, mommy? She knows what's up. So anyway, I just really want to acknowledge that a lot of the times, like, our inability to love ourselves isn't even our own problem. It's the things we've been taught, you know? And then if you are a person of color in the United States of America, and if you're a white person in the United States of America, like, there's been a lot of fuckery in the United States of America that has not given us the capacity to love ourselves or anybody. So I'm like getting really new age, like, well, you just have to meditate and then you will find your bliss. No, it takes a lot of work. Like, I've been doing work on myself for like 10 years now. I started studying Chinese medicine and practicing Chinese medicine 13 years ago. Graduated from acupuncture school 5 years ago. And I've been consistently like unearthing all of this stuff. I am a 33-year-old woman who's only barely got the balls to be like, I'm not a virgin. You know? Because
You're not a virgin? Oh my gosh. I can't
I'm like,
be
what's
friends
that?
with you anymore.
What's that? Not that I'm super into virginity. Oh, and that's another thing. Dude, I thought that like I was going to be unlovable after I had sex because of this Catholic shame thing, you know? And I know that it's like, you know, our parents only do the best with what they're dealing with, where they're coming from, and how they can help us out. And if they believe that they're completely devalued because of being sexualized, then you will too, you know? So I guess I just want to say, like, I see that, and I don't want you guys to think that we're just, like, glossing over the history of objectification, colonization, colonialism in America. Like, that's a real thing. So as Charmaine's talking about these layers, like, it's only been now that I can be like, and I just had a treatment with her, and I started crying about like being able to be who I truly am. Because when you grow up in a particular society and are presenting a certain way, you're like, state quieta, like, shh, don't be too loud, don't be too much, don't be too much anything, don't love too hard, like you're like where you were at with your parents. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the unfolding of you from, like, coming to that, like, no intimacy, no openness, like, no drama place to where you're at now.
Yeah. So when I was really young, my mom is like, she's an intense, like, overpouring lover. Like, she's just like, I love you. But that also comes with some sense of jealousy and insecurity and ownership type behaviors. And so I saw this interesting dynamic between my mom and my dad, and lots of fun stuff that happens when that.
Like
what? And my dad's like a very beautiful man. Like, he was beautiful. Like, he wasn't only aesthetically beautiful, but
she looks just like him. That's where she gets her blue eyes.
So my dad was this, I feel like Rico Suave kind of like lover, and he was intelligent, and he was all of these things. But what my dad used to tell me when I was a little girl, and for some reason I remember this instance of walking into an elevator and him telling me this, and I don't know why that's the picture that's like stuck into my head.
That'd be fun for Mindscape.
But he said, honey, you can't control your heart. Like, almost like you can't control who you love, like how you love or who you love or that kind of thing. And he said, but you can control your mind. So always make sure that your mind is like stronger than your heart.
Whoa.
And so
that's a story, all right.
So it took me years or decades probably to actually be like, holy shit, that's a thing.
What's a thing? Like the story about
the story about that, because what that meant was that I could be in love relationships where I really loved someone, whether they were healthy or unhealthy or whatever it was. But I always had this mentality of like, at any moment I can walk out the door and I'll be fine. Like, we can have children, we can have a house, we can have 2 cars, we can have a whole life that we've created together. And if it gets to a point where it's me or you, I'm going to walk out and I'll be fine. And I'll walk away like, somebody once told me, I remember in high school they
used to call her the ice queen in high school. I was so jealous. I'm like, how come she's so cool with dudes? Because here I am all like daddy, and she's like, love me. She's like, I don't give a fuck if you love me, peace. And I'm like, why can't I be that cool?
I had this guy once, and it was like little things throughout my life that kind of solidified, and I couldn't see until I was kind of an adult. But I had this boy that I was hanging out with once that I knew for years before I ever would like really hang out with him, that I hung out with for a really, really short period of time. And then I was like, and just stopped calling him.
That's her face.
and
don't be attached.
And I wouldn't, and I felt like the easiest way was like to not return texts, not return calls. So I totally like ghosted / guide them. And that was just how I operated, because I thought that was normal. And he texted me and he said, hey, I'm having this party, and I know your rules about like
she has rules. She still has rules, by the way.
He said cutting guys out of your
boundaries.
lives. He said, I know you have rules about cutting guys out of your lives, but it'd be really nice to see you. And I stopped and I was like, rules about cutting guys out? What is he like? Whatever is he talking about? But it took me many, many years to realize that I had this thing about me, whether it was like a belief system or a survival mechanism, where I would like light a match and burn all the things down and be like, c'est la vie. And then confused at why people were hurt or upset or mad or like just whatever with me. And I'm like, wait, what are you still hung up about? Like, it's been 10 years. And then I'm like, oh, shit. That was painful. And so
Dang.
in the last
heartbreaker,
in the last like 5 years, I really guess I started deconstructing and reconstructing seriously on a daily basis, this idea and this concept of love. And in that I've had to do a lot of, I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you. I'm sorry, I love you, to people that I hurt unintentionally, throughout my process of just being like, okay, bye.
based on your conditioning,
Based
your
on my
belief
conditioning.
systems.
I've had to do a lot of that. And I've also, had to look at myself in the ways that like there, a handful of men that I like love. I love. And I'm I'm always going to love them. If you see us at lunch together, you'll be like, they're connected. They love each other. Like they share a deep love space. But they're not my lovers. Right. And they have lovers and they have partners.
And that is possible. You can share deep love space with people and you do not have to have sex with them. That's possible.
Yeah. And what I've found is that like I'm okay with it and they're okay with it. And we don't have like this weird like wanting to be lovers with each
like
other
lust.
anymore, or
You're
lust.
Not experiencing
we
lust.
don't have lust. But it's very, very, very hard for their partners to experience. So there's this like necessity for them to be like, I can't really like hang out with you, or I can't like,
I think Charmaine takes the cake for the amount of women whose boyfriends are like, you can't hang out with her. Or no, who tell their boyfriends
ridiculous.
you can't hang out with her.
I can be your best friend though. And what
She's
women
such
don't
a good
understand,
sister wife.
what women don't understand, and what I hope that we come to a point where we can understand, is that I love their partners in a way. We're almost done. Okay. I love their partners in a way that when we've passed that point of like, I want to be a lover with you and I want to be intimate with you. I don't want any of that. Like reduce, reuse, recycle, not so much your relationships. I've been through that phase of my life. I've moved on. But it's like, I love your partner, but I would never cross any sort of boundary if they wanted to or not. Like I just never would. I would never cross over a physical, intimate boundary with somebody that I love who's in partnership with somebody else, because I don't want to leave like wounds on people's souls, and,
right.
and I'm not here to do damage, and so it's always confusing to me, because I'm like, my love for your partner is to enrich their lives and to enrich your life. Right. It's not to take something from your love nest that you're creating.
And even more so, you could probably provide a lot of reflection to the partner to help them with their current girlfriend. Yeah. So this brings us back around to the beginning, like those conditions, the way we've expected women to act or men to act, or this whole dichotomy of like lover or not, or wife or not, or whore or not, etc. It's like, there's no space for us as women to be friends with men when they have wives.
Yeah, it's very few.
It's very interesting.
It's very few people who have evolved to the point where they're really like seriously comfortable within themselves enough and within their relationship enough to really allow that to happen. I have a dear friend who has cultivated that within his marriage, and he's been married for 15 years and are together for 15 years, married for 4 or 5. And it was really interesting because the other day he came to see me, and his wife that morning said, go see your girlfriend, which there's no like girlfriend-ish type stuff going on, but he's just like loves me. We're like brother-sister love, right? But she said, go see your girlfriend because you're a better person when you go see her, and when you work with her, and when you have time with her, you're a better person. And we were talking about it later, and I sat back and I smiled because he had mentioned, and he didn't mention earlier that day, it was their anniversary. And
she's like, go see Charmaine for our anniversary because I can't with you right now. I can't with you right now. Go see your lady friend.
Not even like I can't with you, but like I felt like that was like the ultimate act of love, where she was like secure enough in their loveship, secure enough in their relationship where. And I kind of pointed it out to him, and he hadn't even realized it. But I said, now that's love. And he said, what? And I told him, I said, your wife told you to go see your girlfriend on your anniversary. Like, she's like, go see her, because when you see her, you're better. Like, you're
that just
better
gave me
within
chills.
all
And
of
that there's an example of real love, non-attached, unconditional love, because she was not, her ego didn't get in the way of wanting what's best for her love. Well, I think that's what we have time for now. Thanks, Charmaine, for being here. Everybody, round of applause for the beautiful and talented and mystical Ms. Charmaine Brabo. I'm Eutimia Cruz Montoya, La Kwaxiru, she who is crazy for love, and you are watching La Kwaxiru, live coming at you from the Ghost House Denver in partnership with WeAreDenver, Meet in the Street. And if you want to know more about what I do as a healthcare practitioner, you can go to my Facebook page, Muse in Medicine. I also just started a La Kwaxiru page, Kwaxiru. And you can visit Charmaine for her healing prowess at A Charmed Life Wellness on Facebook. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. More juicy, lovely guests to come. And you get to see why I'm so crazy for love.